I wish I could claim the words myself, but I can't. It's from John Clare, the beginning of a poem called Elmontsales Heath, I think it's called. And he's talking about the heath still having its wild garb as opposed to the enclosures which came later. And I think he was haunted by the loss of this throughout his life. And he's a poet that I find a huge affinity with. This is a marvellous place. A standing stone circle, and I've been here probably over 100 times. I sit against one of the stones, and when so it's a stone circle, so I'm sitting over here looking at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stones over there. I always tend to sit behind this particular stone because the sun rises up there. Now this isn't some sort of druid trance or anything, it's because when I'm drawing and the sun's rising, I have to draw the sunrise. You know, I can't look anywhere else. So I sit on the ground and I'm looking up through the grass usually and just see the stones. And again, very brief drawings. I have to drive here, it's about 20 minutes from the studio. And, but I've done several paintings. Well, there's one there, look. And it's beautiful in the morning, and you get there and it's, you know, talking about John Clare, the sort of, you know, the grasses are waving and there's birds singing, and the sense of people having built this thing and these primitive people who lived briefly there. It feels like, if I look inside me, there's this vast ocean which is somewhere else, and the paintings seem to come out of there. And of course, the internalization is not just seeing things. In fact, it's very little to do with looking. It's to do with the experience of seeing something and the way that you carry that in. You know, when you're a child, you see things. I've seen, we all, I'm sure, as a child, see things we never forget. But we don't know we remember them, they're just there. And I think the painting sort of draws, the act of painting, my painting, draws on that sort of, on that memoria. It's not drawing, it's become a sort of a calligraphic sort of, a calligraphic parting of a veil so I can look through to another world. That's what the drawing has become in a way. And the drawing is a rhythm, it's an energy which comes back in my sketchbook, and they're all over the studio floor. It's quite big sketchbooks, and that is the energy from which the painting happens. This is an area called the Saltings, which is near, quite near where I live. I seem to have this sort of internal wisdom in a way, which has nothing to do with me or my brain, which sort of I follow that. All right, you get in the studio, you've been to the Saltings, you got this drawing. Oh, I think there's a bit of something there. You put it up in the studio, you shuffle around, you put the painting up, and 5 minutes later the painting's there. Because it's quite fast, so I paint very fast. I don't hang around, and I'm not sort of stand back. I paint. I'm very involved when I paint, and the paintings, the big paintings, the huge paintings, probably are done in under a few minutes. And I don't really know what I'm doing. I've done this before, but I'm painting here. Yes, I mean my hands, yeah, I paint with my hands, you know. And then something stops me, and I might step back and say, I think that might be something. So it's a very impulsive, sort of slightly primitive process with me now. And that's what I trust, and that's what I allow to happen. There's this stuff called paint, and it's in my hands, and I have to expurgate whatever is driving me inside onto the canvas. My intention or my need is not to interfere with the energy that comes out of me. It's an energy with a lot of force in it. You know, it's not a hands-off. I have to make the thing happen, and the energy is the painting. You know, I can't analyze it, and I don't try to analyze it. I don't know what it's like a fight in a way, but it's a force that I trust. Yeah, I'm a primitive. But again, I mean, the first thing I said when I did this, remember it, I said, Linda, is that horrible? And she said, no, it's beautiful. Because I just do what I do, you know. I think the root is the person sitting in the chair, like you're sitting there, or Linda in her chair. But I suppose through the attempt to paint this person sitting in a chair, something archetypal is triggered in you, And again, you know, sometimes the person will sit in the chair and you know, the painting is very, very fast sometimes. I should think that painting took about 4 or 5 minutes, because if I linger on it, it's gone, I mess it up. It's a bit, I used to do archery, it's a bit like you have to hit the centre of the target, boom, straight on. And if you miss it, or you go to the side, the painting's not there. It has to be smack on the centre of the bullseye.
So at what point do you know whether it's going to be there or not?
Well, you can't touch it anymore. Your hands just go bang like that, you know. And I try. Sometimes I test it. I'll look at my palette and well, it's not really a palette. It's a table full of paint. And I'll pick up a brush and I sort of test myself. Can I touch it? And my hand just won't do it. The thing about painting for me is huge uncertainty. The whole ground is quaking with uncertainty. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no coordinates. I don't have any history of it. I don't have any technique. I'm just in this moment where I really do not know what is happening. And it's a sort of desperation to try and imagine you're slipping down a mountainside. You're trying to get hold of a root or a crag or something to stop your fall. That's what painting's like for me. It's not like that for other people, but that's what it's like for me. I'm falling off a mountain and I have to stop myself. It's an act to save myself in that moment. Does that make any? And the paint is just sort of. Does that make any sense? You finish and it's done, or it's not done. So although I may paint very fast, it has to satisfy some deep demand in me. And I'm not sure what that is, but if it doesn't satisfy that, it's destroyed.
Literally?
Yeah, literally destroyed, yeah, or painted over. Because it doesn't have its own life. It has to have its own life in order for me to accept it. So these paintings, whether they're any good or not, I don't know, but they've got something that I can't touch in them. And that is what I need them to have. I mean, it's obvious, I suppose, to say that I don't ever think of an audience when I'm painting. They have to satisfy this primitive urge in me. That's what they have. That's their purpose. And if they resonate with another human being because they've come out of my truth in a way, then that is good, because you're sort of sending out a message which can affect other people. But it's not why I do it. But of course, I'm a human being, and that sort of acknowledgement is very, very, very powerful. And I do. It is nice. I do like that. And if someone says, "I really like that painting," I'm pleased. I'm pleased because I'm pleased, because it makes me feel I'm not alone in the world. Winter Moorland, yes. Now, where was that? That must have been Dartmoor. It was Dartmoor. I know where that was. I've got into the habit recently of drawing from the car window, not when I'm driving, I hasten to add. So I've got this tiny little studio, and I look through the windscreen. It's only a small car. And I've been going up there and drawing, again, several times, but very briefly. But it's on top of probably, you can't take it off. I've had several other paintings underneath that, which have gone, but that probably will stay, I think, now. It is rewarding to see the paintings hanging up, and see the way they relate to each other, and in a way to be detached from them, which is quite nice. Because in a way, that's another thing I would say is the hallmark of something that's finished, is it detaches itself from you. If you're still feeding it, or your hands are still groping towards it, it isn't independent of you. And when I look around the room here, whatever the paintings are, they are independent of me, and that is good to see. So in a way, they're nothing to do with me anymore. They've gone. Goodbye.